Ever heard of fish adulteration? I didn't. So public health specialist and lecturer at the School of Public Health at UTech, Dr. Karlene Atkinson, will educate us on this and tell us why it is a public health concern. Morning, Doc.
Morning, Doc. Welcome.
Pleasant morning to you both.
How are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
Fish.
Doc, I make sure I never look it up because I want you to tell me what it is.
Okay. So fish adulteration has been a practice that would have been around for centuries, all right? It's a part of a bigger challenge that we consider as food crime or food fraud. And this is where persons intentionally add, for example, chemicals such as formalin, there are other chemicals, such as sodium benzoate and so on, to food in order to fish, in this case to disguise a particular quality. Most times it's done also for economic reasons.
What do you mean by that? So hang on, because when you say deliberately done,
yes,
are you suggesting that they know that this can harm people who consume this?
To some extent.
And so what's the point?
The reason behind it is that if we understand fish, like many other foods, because of its nature, spoils very easily. We can also appreciate that fish in itself is expensive. And we look at, for example, the global fish stock, marine fish stock, is decreasing. And so when persons in the trade purchase their goods, if it has not been sold after a day or two, it's likely that they have to dispose of these, right? And so in order to ensure that they maximize their gain from the trade, persons intentionally add these chemicals as a means of disguising, for example, spoilage in the particular product.
It will make a longer shelf life.
Yes, definitely so, definitely.
Ooh, but you say disguise,
yes,
which means technically it's not. It's just that the consumer is not aware.
Exactly. So it's a matter of misleading the consumer.
But this would happen to any food? Not
Definitely. Not just fish.
Why are we talking about it now? Is there something that came up that somebody test positive for something or something like that? Why are we talking about it now?
I think globally, again, as we look at the statistics, we've been seeing increasing numbers of illnesses directly related to the consumption of fish. Most recently, we would have heard of instances in Jamaica. Not sure if it has been proven so, but globally, again, we can look at issues. India and other countries throughout the world would have been experiencing these challenges as well.
And I know you may not be able to tell us all of the things because people respond to chemicals in different ways.
Yes.
But what are some of the most common reactions that you would find?
We can look at the short-term ones in terms of the regular gastrointestinal illnesses, the vomiting, the diarrhea, and so on. And because it's a toxin, these signs, symptoms, you will have an onset within hours, within minutes after consuming this particular adulterated food item. I think what we sometimes miss, though, are the long-term effects, such as those chronic ones, the cancers, the liver failure, the kidney failure, and so on. So those long-term ones are, I believe. Yeah.
Dr. Karlene, where along the line is this done? So I am a fisherman.
Yes.
I get my fish, I sell it to Delia, Delia sell it to you. Is me do it or is Delia do it? Where along the line it is done?
The research would have proven that right throughout the value chain. So anyone at the point of sale, it could be at other points as well.
So what they do? They inject something in the food or something? Could
be that formalin, for example, could be injected. It could be a bath. For example, the formalin is mixed with water and then dipped. The food item, the fish, is dipped in there, as well as you could have a situation where ice is made with this solution and then used on the particular product, in this instance, again, fish.
Yes.
Then,
wow.
I soon ask that the question, I'll come into it. how can I know
Yeah.
if it's on it before having it?
It's important that consumers be empowered with knowledge so that they can make informed choices. For example, fresh fish has certain appearances. The eyes, for example, are bright, and bulging. Even though the fish is dead, it will appear as if it's alive. You can look always for the absence of scales, So if the fish is unscaled, and as a consumer, when you're purchasing, you should not be seeing a lot of missing scales. Things like malodor, off-odor, the presence of excess slime and so on in fish tells you that fish is going bad. And so with the addition of formalin, formalin, for example, has a strong, what we call pickle odor, when it is added to the food product, in particular fish. Sometimes the gills can tell you, sometimes the gills might appear off color in terms of slight gray, orange off color there, right? So it's a matter of knowing what fresh fish looks like. Let me go back, if I can, again to tell you. So fresh fish, basically the eyes are bright and bulging. If you should put your finger to make an indentation, the muscles will spring, or the flesh will basically spring right back. So it's not going to be a permanent indentation. It will have a slight, what we call seaweed smell, as if it's just coming, that ocean smell. So any off odor at all should tell you something. And the truth is, one last thing, your fish, you should purchase fish that is kept on ice once the fish is dead.
Yeah, but
Yes.
Dr. Karlene, you
Yes.
are talking about somebody who went to buy the fish and go to them house and cook it.
Yes.
What happens if I buy it cook?
Okay.
How I know anything wrong with it?
The thing is, when fish spoilage would have taken place, even though the item might be cooked, I think there's always going to be an off odor. So that by itself, the malodor.
And the other thing you said is not
And the
only fish.
texture.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's other foods.
Other
also.
foods, right. So we have been seeing challenges, for example, with milk powder, a number of food items which would have been adulterated for economic gains.
No, Doctor, my son, I got those bird seed alone if you eat, man. Eh? It's scary. Can it kill you?
Definitely, and especially if you're in a susceptible population, young children, the elderly, pregnant women, people who are struggling with other illnesses, such as those who have immunodeficient situations dealing with.
I would
like
sorry to jump in, but I'd like to know why it's just now we are here about this, because I've never heard of this before.
Right.
Never.
Okay.
So I don't understand that it's been going on and this is the first. Nobody ever said this.
Okay.
I hear about pesticides.
Right.
I hear that the farmers and you have to be careful and you have organic farming and stuff like that. But I've never heard of food adulteration.
Yes.
Never heard of it.
It's a big issue, food fraud. And so we look, for example, in countries like Scotland, similar to how we have a hotline in Jamaica where you can actually, it's Crime Stop, is that they are so vigilant that you can actually report food crimes such as food adulteration. So their Crime Stop is not just for other crimes, because food adulteration is a big issue globally.
Oh, knowledge is power, I'm telling you. Because I've had friends who have been out, had fish, and said, listen, I'm having diarrhea and from the fish.
Okay.
And I said, I don't know, maybe, like you kind of pass it off as... But you never know. So what do you do in a case like that? Like if I go somewhere and I have it, and do I say, who do I call to say, check this place?
All right. So there are a number of regulatory agencies, in particular the Public Health Department under the Ministry of Health. They are empowered and have responsibilities for overseeing or oversight of food safety, amongst other agencies in Jamaica. So I think that you can always reach out to the ministry.
A producer had an interesting question. You can wash off this something?
It has been put forward, but then again, the traces will not be removed totally. Right, right.
Whew. Eh?
Wow.
You're just a bearer of great news.
Thank you.
No, actually, we need to know these things.
Definitely.
We need to know these things.
Right.
But as I say, it's amazing that Lon, you ever hear about this before?
Yes.
Kyle?
Well, Kyle would I know.
Kyle surprised me. Kyle knows something. I've never heard of it. Thanks for coming.
You're most welcome.
Yeah, God
Thank
bless
you
you.
for having me
Yeah,
as
man.
well.
Public health specialist and lecturer at the School of Public Health at UTech, Dr. Karlene Atkinson.
10 minutes to your health. We'll do it again next Thursday. So after the break, we get the details on the 16th annual Charlestown Maroon Conference and Festival. You know, from when Dana must carry me, and I know she not carry me.
True.
We'll soon come here, man.